If you look in your sky at a rainbow, you see 7 visible colors. And the colors are not divided by sharp lines, but the red blends into the orange and then into the yellow. And this is a wonderful metaphor for the spectrum of consciousness. This is what we mean. When the light is one, white light, and the energy passes through a mechanism that can separate it, like a raindrop or a prism, it becomes the rainbow. You too, in your truest state of consciousness, are one light. But in order to experience separation and human life, you had to go through a separation process. So light is frequency, but you didn't separate into colors like the rainbow. You simply separated into frequency bands. And we've delineated 7, just like the rainbow. And they are wonderful models to express the progression of consciousness as it moves from complete separation back to unification and back to the whole. Okay, so we're going to start first with 3rd density. What does it mean? On the frequency band, it is the expression of consciousness that is farthest from the source, the expression that is the most separated. And when we were talking about the Great Galactic Cycle a moment ago, and the last 13,000 years, your civilization was expressing itself as a 3rd density consciousness, very separated from Holt, and not remembering who it is. And the driving force was the human ego. So this isn't because you've fallen or you're bad. It's simply part of the process of separation and reintegration. Okay, so 3rd density then is where you've been. 4th density, which is the new frequency spectrum you're moving into, really was initiated, let's say, December 21st, 2012. So you entered into a frequency band of very new energy that instead of reinforcing the idea of separation, begins to reinforce the idea of integration. These are evolutionary cycles all planets go through. So your planet is basically on the line moving into 4th. 3rd and 4th density are the only densities in which consciousness expresses itself in bodies. Once you move into 5th, it becomes more light bodies, not physical matter. 5th density simply will just say it's the first expression where you've not gone into group consciousness, but you are expressing without matter, but as light bodies. Now, what's really interesting is that the body's chakra system really mirrors the density structure. So you have 1st chakra, which is the base chakra, 2nd chakra, 2nd density, 3rd density, solar plexus. So within 3rd density, your solar plexus are very developed. It's the chakra of the will. It's the chakra that the ego uses to move through reality and to create in the physical reality. But as you start moving toward 4th density, the energy pathways start to change. So the heart chakra, which is equated with 4th density, begins to become active and starts opening. What happens when it starts opening? You become more sensitive. It maybe feels painful to be in the world. You are influenced by the energy of others. You may experience emotions you don't even understand where they're coming from. We know many of you are thinking, oh, that's me. This is because as your civilization is moving from 3rd to 4th density, it's shifting its energy from solar plexus to heart. But it's actually even moving beyond heart. Because in a sense you can say there are 2, don't take this literally, but there's 2 heart chakras. You could say lower heart and higher heart. Lower heart is expressed still with polarity. So if you're looking at the chakra energy, you could say it's not quite fully in the heart, it's still energetically connected to the solar plexus. So the solar plexus is still polarized. So that lower heart energy is still polarized. What do we mean by that? Easy example, love-hate. I love that, I hate that. That's polarization. So that heart energy is never really integrated. But you could say that that lower heart is like a gateway between third and fourth density. As you start moving into fourth density, you start moving more into the integrated heart or the higher heart. One of the qualities of fourth density is that duality still exists, but not in a conflicting way, in a harmonized way. Like if you had those old-fashioned scales and a rock of the same size is on each side and it's balanced. The inherent energy of fourth density, though it expresses duality still because you're in the physical, is ultimately balanced. So is what is going to happen with the heart energy. So right now you're starting to move from that polarized heart, lower heart, to higher heart, where the separation isn't as strong. This is really significant, and it's representative of a species that is willing to let go of polarity. As a whole, your species is, but there's a sense of polarity is so habitual. What do we do to shift it? What do we do to let go of the habits so that we can move into another way of being? Okay, so this idea then of the higher heart or the integrated heart has a lot to do with self-love and acceptance. Because sometimes self-love is a concept, but sometimes people have trouble connecting with it practically. So we'll give you an example. A woman was really ill. Nothing life-threatening, but feeling miserable. And was doing a lot of meditation. And in the meditation, she was seeing herself suffering. But she was seeing herself from above, like watching a movie. So it was almost like higher self watching lower self. And that higher self felt so much love for the lower self that was suffering. And that higher self had a realization, all humanity suffers like that because they've forgotten who they are. And so compassion burst forth for the small self that is suffering. And that love and compassion moved to that small self. And the small self actually accepted it. This is a powerful process of integration, which was healing to the woman, the human. And not only healing for her, but it awakened a new understanding of what compassion and self-love really are. So what happened in that moment was that she went from the lower heart to the higher heart, and the integration process happened. This is not something you can do with your mind, because you're going to find that in third density, reality is driven by the mind or the ego. But as you move into fourth density, the more you try to work with your mind, the more stuck you're going to become. So it's more of a process of no mind. So this is what we mean by the importance of compassion and self-love. It's not a mental concept, but it is the movement of energy from the higher self to the lower self. So the higher self and the lower self begin an integration process. Eventually, this leads to holographic consciousness. That's another story for another time, yes?